Social Security, but not offering much of anything on how they plan to do it. Cassidy said that a cut in benefits could cause poverty among the elderly to nearly double. If Washington does nothing in about a decade, Social Security will start to run out of money. It's funded by workers' taxes and any surpluses or interest earnings in the trust fund. The program cannot borrow money on its behalf. So the only option once existing funds are exhausted would be a nearly 25% cut for all recipients on Social Security. It's not a win for anybody. It's unlikely Washington will let it get to that point, but Social Security is popular and economically crucial for most Americans. But few in positions of power are trying to actually come up with a fix to actually prevent it from happening. About 2 years ago, this bill already was created. He said, the Senator Bill Cassidy said, it occurred to me that we could address this by creating an investment fund. It would prevent a 24% decrease in benefits. Now, some independent senators like Angus King are already caucusing with Democrats to begin their pitch on this big idea to save Social Security. The pitch goes to prevent and invest $500 billion over 5 years in one of the independent investment funds separate from Social Security. Now, the government actually have to borrow money to pay for scheduled benefits, and the fund will be managed independently for Congress, with the intention of preventing future political interference. Now, Cassidy concedes his plan only partially solves the solvency program. It does not address the tougher questions about raising taxes or the retirement age, but he said at a minimum, it would not raise taxes on seniors or affect anyone close to retirement. Cassidy and his staff have been working with lawmakers to get feedback and make changes as they go. There was a short window where Cassidy thought Biden might engage on Social Security after the midterms, but so far Joe Biden hasn't done anything to announce his plan to help Social Security beneficiaries. But back in April, more than 66 million people took home a benefit check from Social Security. Now, 50 million of which were retired workers. Among these retirees, close to 90% rely on a monthly payout to cover some portion of their monthly expenses. Whether you're already retired or have just earned the workforce, surveys consistently show that most Americans will lean on their Social Security payout in some capacity during the golden years. In other words, maximizing what you'll receive from the Social Security program is important. All told, more than half a dozen elements can impact what you bring home monthly or to keep from the benefit checks. As an example, Social Security benefits became taxable above certain income thresholds. Additionally, a dozen states tax and Social Security payouts to some very degree. But so far, when whittled down to the basics, 4 components are ultimately responsible for determining Social Security. It's your work history and, of course, your retirement age. Folks, we got 10 news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI and SDI. Now, there's a ton of information that you guys definitely want to know about this. Continue watching. We have a lot of information about this.
Per month. This is, it's never happened before. And look, history's been made here. But it comes alongside the largest drop in unemployment rate in a single year on record.
The Senate in history of the United States has been amazingly and extraordinarily productive. 20 months into the Democratic majority, I just want to take a moment to highlight the many, many accomplishments we have secured in this chamber under Democratic leadership. It's the most in recent memory. The American
from Social Security lawmakers could be facing a budget shutdown this fall over a number of issues. For example, Republicans in the House Appropriations Committee are proposing a cut to fund Social Security, federal student aid, office at a time when student loan payments are resuming over a 3-year pause. Some Democratic lawmakers have already called on top appropriation lawmakers to consider increasing funding for the agency. And some Democrats also think that Social Security should see a similar influx in spending. Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, for instance, have repeatedly introduced a bill that will bolster Social Security checks by $2,400, which would be subsidized by upping taxes on the wealthy. Senator Sanders said in a statement, "Our job is to expand Social Security so that every senior in America can retire with dignity that they deserve, and every person with a disability can live with the security they need." Republican presidential candidates are also announcing support for changes to Social Security for the millennials and the younger generations. But now, AARP predicted that if the trust fund is depleted, the program would only be able to pay about 70%, 80% of the benefits so far. This is not good, everybody. And what do you think Joe Biden will do for the people of America? Is he going to send out the stimulus checks in 2023? Can he get the job done? Tell me what you think in the comments down below. We got 10 minutes with the fourth stimulus check, everybody. Social Security benefits, SSI and SDI. Continue watching this video because you don't want to miss out on this. As inflation continues to go forward, well, shoppers are finally getting some relief at the grocery store. Rising food prices have been the biggest drivers of inflation since 2020, with a combination of labor shortages and supply chains setting grocery bills to spike like crazy. A big part of the grocery price jump came from eggs, which were in short supply for much of the year. And the sharp rise in grocery prices over the last few years has sometimes challenged the conventional wisdom of how to shore up Social Security has increased since Joe Biden's State of the Union, during which he prompted both sides of the aisle to promise that they cut the program. But the clock is ticking to shore up the program. A recent report projected that Social Security's combined funds may run out in 2023, 2 years sooner than the actual people estimate that could happen. And changes to prevent those cuts may have a profound effect on Americans' retirement and the United States' wealth distribution. The Social Security forward retirement age is gradually changing to 67, based on changes enacted in 1983. Lawmakers are considering raising the forward retirement age again to 70, and the change will result in a 20% benefit cut across the board to lifetime benefits. As Democrats resist benefit cuts, Republicans oppose higher taxes. Finding a compromise to fix the program will not be easy. It will be crucial to look at the effects of any reform package in its entirety. A higher retirement age may be accompanied by other changes like a robust minimum benefit, for example, that could protect people at the bottom of the income distribution. But just raising the payroll taxes without any benefit cuts could provide some enough money to shore up the program, and some questions about whether that would actually be responsible when other tax increases are needed to pay for the country's needs. As per the SSA schedule, SSI are dispersed on the first day of every month, but in certain situations where the first of the month lands on a Saturday or Sunday, the payment is expected to be sent on the Friday of the preceding month. The government funding, and he said he was urging his Republican colleagues to do the same. It's not yet clear whether Republicans will unite behind Graham's efforts, but most GOP aides familiar with the matter say they do not expect that. Throughout the crisis, the American government has sent out rounds of stimulus payments, first under the former president and now with President Biden. But most stimulus checks were sent as electronic checks to bank accounts. But when the IRS didn't have a recipient's direct deposit information, they mailed paper checks. So like all payment checks sent from the Treasury, if these checks are not cashed within 1 year, they expire. And that's good news. You can request a new one if you have a check that expires. Approximately 9 million people in the US, 9 million US citizens that is, live overseas. Stimulus payments worth $5.5 billion were sent to more than 1/3 of those expat soldiers and world travelers. There is a $1,400 forward stimulus payment. The IRS has released a new announcement that for all taxpayers that have received the stimulus checks, that have received the stimulus cash. With tax day well behind us, millions of Americans are still waiting for the refunds. Some have already been waiting for several months for the federal income tax refunds to arrive after completing paper returns and mailing them in late January or early February. As of August, the IRS has had around 8 million unprocessed individual tax returns. Of them, 1 million returns contain errors or require special handling, while 6.5 million are paper returns that still must be reviewed and processed. And in its latest update, the agency said that this is a mix of returns that it's cheaper to email